I mean, just
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
reward the
That's
people
the
who
point
are
of
on
Yime
time.
Matov is to... I don't know what that meant. But here we are.
Revel and rejoice.
Revel and rejoice.
Liz gave us the signal that we should start.
All right. Liz is in charge, after all.
Great. We'll do a little Yime Matov. Do we have a page? Possibly
do.
page 10.
Possibly. Oh, we don't. But let's find out. It is indeed the top of page 10
Hooray.
that we will begin.
Yime Matov, umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is! How good it is!
How good it is!
How sweet it is!
How sweet it is
to be together on this day. How good it is!
How good it is!
How sweet it is!
How sweet it is
to be together on this day. Hine Matov, umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Delightful to have you here. Take a moment, please. Turn to the people next to you. Say Shabbat Shalom. Make sure you know each other's names.
Shabbat shalom.
If you're sitting alone,
It's our
walk
friend.
over to somebody. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
I
shalom.
know.
It's so great.
I know. It's
Amazing.
And we're going to invite our friend Keith to come up and share words of wisdom, inspiration. And here's the mic.
Come all the way up so that they can hear you. Well, the
on
internet
the live
needs to
stream.
hear you. I know you're important, Keith. Important.
And they'll take your voice and AI will steal it and then,
It's already happened.
No.
Hi, my name is Keith Ketover, member of the board, one of your vice presidents, and we just come here to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Encourage you to take a look at your newsletters for all the amazing activities that are coming up in the next this weekend, next weekend. So please, check out what's going on and come participate. We'd love to have you. And if you need anything while you're here tonight, come and grab me and I'll help in any way I can. So thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
Yay!
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
I'm remembering because there was an email exchange about it that in particular, one of the things in the newsletter this week had to do with a pretty quick turnaround on a donation drive. So that's one thing to look for in particular, if you're looking for a thing to look for,
Yes.
as it were.
Excellent. Thank you.
Can't tell you what the thing was, but it's donation.
It's related
stuff.
to Riverton Park, and Jill and Marnie look like they know what it is, or they're pointing to each other. Read the email. But bring the things here. Shabbat Shalom, Sam.
Welcome.
Awesome.
Right in the front.
Here we
Shall
go.
we light some candles?
Please let us.
All right. Here we go. All right, everyone take a breath. Breathe in. Let it out. It's good to remember to breathe in advance of Shabbat arriving. Ooh, that was close. Hello.
I don't know what's happening, but
Are you joining me for this?
Yes, he is.
All right. Go ahead. Oh, nope. We do need to take the wax off.
you hear that,
first.
Nestor?
Come on. But once it happens like this once, you don't forget it again.
And yet, it happens every week.
And yet. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Anyone who wants to get their imaginary Kiddush cups to join me is welcome.
Marty was
to
here.
raise your glass. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom tekilah le'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziyat Mitzrayim kivanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'vratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. To life.
Simchas.
I did the thing.
That could be before, after, in the middle of it.
Oh, in the middle. Halfway through Kiddush. All right, next time, halfway through Kiddush. I forgot to ask about simchas.
It's the most important thing.
Come on. Okay, so you got to start interrupting me when I do things like this.
It's not good.
Who has, I mean, maybe not, maybe. Who has simchas from the last week? Good things, good moments, anniversaries, happy moments, things that have happened. Yes. Happy birthday on Wednesday. Yes. She'll be 3. Ooh. You are 3. It was on Wednesday. You now are 3. Wow.
Hooray.
3's a lot of fingers. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. I saw a hand over here too. Yeah.
Woo!
Yay.
Yay.
So good to have you two here. Sally.
Aww.
Oh, something to look forward to.
Yay.
Yes. Yes.
Cute.
Oh, much joy. Due to baby goat, there is very little that is cuter than a baby goat.
Agreed.
Other than the newly minted 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
Second to the newly minted 3-year-old. I saw another hand, I think, over here. No? Nothing can beat the baby goats.
Well,
All right.
when we were at Shabbat in the park, I failed. Alice was upset with me that I didn't mention that she lost a tooth, which was not her first tooth, but it's the first one that she lost the natural way. But then last night, Milo lost his first tooth, so that was very exciting. So his teeth are just falling out of our house. It's fine.
Tis the season.
Yep.
On the other side of that, we're still working on growing
the
teeth
teeth,
in my household, so we'll see if we can get them in before they come back out again. Who knows? We'll continue on page 20 with Lecha Dodi. As is often the case here, I believe we will be praying together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
How did you know?
And when we get to 9, we'll rise and welcome in the Sabbath bride officially.
Yeah. Let's do it. Lecha dodi likat kala yada 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likat kala yada 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor vezachor bedibur echad hishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet ve'libchila lecha dodi likat kala yada 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shabbat nekabela likra Shabbat lechuvenacha ki mekor habracha merosh mikedem netzucha sof maseh b'machshavat chila lecha dodi likrat kala yada 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala yada yada pnei Shabbat nekabela hitoreri ki ha'orek umi ori shir daveri kevod Adonai alai mila lecha dodi likat kala yada yada pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likat kala yada yada pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shalom aterabala gam besimcha uvesotola toch emunei am segula boi kala lecha dodi likat kala yada pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likat kala yada pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Welcome the Sabbath bride. Now we welcome in, say hello to, and then say goodbye to, all in one prayer. The
quick
angels on page. It's a quick turnaround. They have a lot of places to be. Page 24. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei
page 28. Continue with the words of Baruch Hu, and we rise. We stop the alarms telling us to take medicine.
Unless you need to take medicine.
Unless you take your medicine.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
May be seated. Page 31. We pray together at the top of the page. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 32, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael. Ahavat olam. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael. What a great love, great love. What a great love you have given us. What a great love, a great love. What a great love you have given us. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levadecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. We are going to turn to page 40 now for Mi Chamocha, our song of redemption. Turns out we need to learn the cadences of each other's versions. We're learning. It's all good. Mm-hmm. All right, we are going to turn to page 42 now. So Mi Chamocha, at the end of Mi Chamocha, we have the Chatima, which is at the end of each blessing, there's something called the Chatima, which is the final line of the blessing. And it comes from the same Hebrew word as a seal, like when you're sealing an envelope. So it's like you're finishing off that blessing, sealing it before you send it off. So there is a Chatima there. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Praise you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. And then on page 42, we have Hashkivenu, which is our prayer asking for God to provide a shelter of peace, a sukkot shalom for us. And the rabbis in the Talmud are very torn up about this because they have declared that in this section of the service that there are 2 blessings before Shema V'Ahavta and 1 blessing after Shema V'Ahavta. But lo and behold, in the evening service, there's 2, and they're like,
what do we do?
What are we going to do?
Terrible.
Most of us would not care, and we'd be like, whatever, there's 1, there's 2. But their way of making sense of it is that they say, actually, it's all 1 blessing. And that this is just an extension of the Geula, the redemption blessing prayer, because when you are freed from one thing but go into a new space, that is precisely the time when you feel the most vulnerable and need protection. And so it's like the next step in this process of leaving Egypt, is that, like, yes, we're praising God for freeing us from slavery, and also, please also still help protect us and help us through this scary narrow.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I think that even if we are not leaving Egypt, as it were, that there are a lot of ways in which in our lives where we maybe have the courage to do something that's a big move, like changing your career,
making a big life change, and it takes a lot of time to take the courage to make that step, and then you do it, and then you're like, okay, now what? Then you have to actually live the consequence of the thing, and hopefully it is good and also scary. So when we are praying for God to provide a protection, a shelter of peace, it's in that sense of where we are in our life. So perhaps think about if there's something in your life where you're taking a brave step and also could use a little extra strength and courage along with you on that. So we are going to actually read the English of this blessing together, and then we are going to sing the Chatimah of the blessing. So please join me at the bottom of page 42. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukkah shalom. Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Adonai haporei sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. And we are going to transition now from our Shema and its blessings into the Amidah, beginning on page 46. If you are able, please rise. And we will turn to face Ark. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai tzvatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai tzvatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Hasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Geulah Lifnei Pnei Ham L'man Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Vezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia. Morid Atah, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayeh Emunato, Lishenei Afar. Micha mocha bal geverot, umidol melech, melech memit umchayeh, umasmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, v'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalu hasala. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We're going to continue silently using the words of the prayer book, whatever's in your heart. Whenever you are done, you may be seated. Page 62, may the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, Adonai, our rock and our Redeemer. Ihiyu leratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Ihiyu leratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri. Adonai tzuri v'goali, Yehiyu leratzon imrefi v'gon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi v'gon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali.
a moment to think of those in our lives and in our community who are in need of healing. I'll offer the names of those we know of here and give you the opportunity to add names of others who are in your hearts and on your minds. And then we'll offer our prayer together. We are thinking today of Amy Thornton, Stacy Hetzel, Jacqueline Tara Smith, Deborah Rose, Eileen Kreisman, Ronnie Haber, Ellen Gottlieb, Vanessa Bianco, Paul McCready, Glenn Letts, Carl Wilhite, Ginny Gaston, Cindy Balin, Patty Newby, Michelle Arrigo, Joni Michaels, Joe Giordano, Brian Ward, Joshua Kornblue, Joe Dover, Christina Marie Lindsay, Janine Morris, Margaret Nichols, Ron Louie, Barb Carmichael, Nina Winokur, Sally Wildson, Marnie Good, Arlene Schuster, Sylvia Angel, Marion Laird, Wilma Weinstein Lomax, Terrence Wood, and Nancy Gerstmann. Additional names you'd like to share, people you're thinking of, please feel free to share them now. We're on page 253, words of Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
This has felt like a very joyful service to me, which is really wonderful. And on Monday night, we commemorate Tisha B'Av, which is in fact the lowest point in our Hebrew calendar. So I'm gonna bring it down a little bit for us to be in line with our calendar, and hopefully also then bring us back up a little bit before we leave tonight. So Tisha B'Av is a day of fasting and mourning. If the Hebrew calendar is a graph with highs and lows, this is our rock bottom moment. We've been kind of preparing to get low, and then from this moment forward, we start pulling ourselves back up toward the high holy days. So this is also in the calendar of the rabbis, the moment where we start going, oh, in preparation for the high holy days. There aren't words for that. It's just a sound. It's said that both of the temples were destroyed on this date, and it's become a date on which we commemorate various catastrophic moments in Jewish history that may not have taken place on the date exactly, but feel equally tragic. In a year that has certainly contained significant tragedy and horrors for us as a Jewish people, Tisha B'Av feels a little more poignant to be coming into. And a colleague of mine who does a lot of counseling work with rabbis in particular recently told me that October 7th and all that has taken place since feels akin to her to the destruction of the temples. That the monumental anguish and despair Jews are experiencing mirrors this pain that is expressed in Eicha, the Book of Lamentations, the words that we traditionally read on Tisha B'Av. And so I want to read the first 9 verses of the first chapter of Eicha tonight. And I want to read them through the lens of these past 10 months. So I'll ask, as you listen to these words, notice what parallels you hear between these words, which were written over 2,300 years ago, and the events and experiences of the past 10 months. Where are these verses found? They're in Eicha. It's the Book of Lamentations. The Book of Lamentations is in the Bible, which is in fact more than just the Torah, as it turns out. Is there more? Is there more that would be helpful to know there? Put us in the right place. Yeah. So we got the 5 books. Then we got a bunch more books. We call them prophets. Then there's even more books. Those are the writings. And Lamentations lives within the book, within the section of the Bible that we tend to think of as writings. Additional fun fact: now you've sent us on a side quest to understand Tanakh. So were you to refer to the Hebrew Bible by its Hebrew name, you would refer to it as Tanakh, and Tanakh is an acronym for Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, T-N-K, or Ch, Tanakh. So we find this in the K part of the Tanakh. So here we are. I could really take you far left. We could talk all about Eicha. I'm going to read these words. Okay, so remember, you're thinking about these words through the lens of the last 10 months. And I've given you the extra hard task of listening without being able to see them in front of you. But I will ask, as you listen, if anything in particular, either a word or a phrase or a section, if that jumps out, hold on to it. Because afterwards I do want to know what really particularly stood out and felt or sounded resonant. Eicha, alas, lonely sits the city, once great with people. She that was great among nations is become like a widow. The princess among states is become a thrall. Bitterly she weeps in the night, her cheek wet with tears. There is none to comfort her of all her friends. All her allies have betrayed her. They have become her foes. Judah has gone into exile because of misery and harsh oppression. When she settled among the nations, she found no rest. All her pursuers overtook her in the narrow places. Zion's roads are in mourning, empty of festival pilgrims. All her gates are deserted. Her priests sigh, her maidens are unhappy. She is utterly disconsolate. Her enemies are now the masters. Her foes are at ease because Adonai has afflicted her for her many transgressions. Her infants have gone into captivity before the enemy. Gone from fair Zion are all that were her glory. Her leaders were like stags that found no pasture. They could only walk feebly before the pursuer. All the precious things she had in the days of old, Jerusalem recalled in her days of woe and sorrow, when her people fell by enemy hands with none to help her. When enemies looked down on and gloated over her downfall. Jerusalem has greatly sinned. Therefore, she is become a mockery. All who admired her despise her, for they have seen her disgraced, and she can only sigh and shrink back. Her uncleanness clings to her skirts. She gave no thought to her future. She has sunk appallingly, with none to comfort her. See, Adonai, my misery, how the enemy jeers. Yeah. All right. I told you I had to get us down so we can get back up. It's Eicha's no joke. Those are the first 9 verses of the first chapter. There are 5 chapters. They are all that, over and over and over and over again. And we often talk in the rabbinic world about how at the very end there's this beautiful line, and we cling to that line. And historically, if we pay attention to historically, we know that they added that line in later because it was so painful to just get to the end of this painful lament and have nothing to move from. And so they actually put this line in that many of us do know, Hashivenu Adonai, and the Nashuva, we will return to us and we will return. This hopeful moment was added in later because it was just so hard to hold the depth of pain and anguish of these words. So I'll ask, was there anything in particular that jumped out at you? Yeah. Her enemies despised her. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. You should hear it chanted. I can't do that, but it's okay. I didn't make you sit, as Sally said, I'm not sitting on the floor. Traditionally, this is also done while, and everyone's in mourning, and that involves sitting on the floor. I didn't make you sit on the floor, so you're welcome. Yes. Yep. Whereas I'm going to read it again. I read that line and I had chills. Her infants have gone into captivity before the enemy. Yeah. Marnie? Yeah. Enough, right? All her allies have betrayed her. They've become her foes. What about that in particular feels resonant? There's many versions of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Individually, we've all had like rent relationships, and communally and globally. Definitely. Any other? Yeah, Keith.
The piece about I think it's like the lead leaders not thinking about the future.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. She gave no thought to her future. She has sunk appallingly with none to comfort her. I think what was striking to me about this, I see you. I'm coming to you next. I think what was striking to me about this was that, right? That we have these I think wherever you fall on this spectrum of how you've experienced the last 10 months, you can find it here. So this idea that all Jews have to be on one part of one side of one thing has never been true. And it's right here. And I actually very much appreciate that piece of it. The, yes, of the downtown Seattle. Yes, there are some streets downtown that are hard places to be these days. It's true. And it paints a really clear picture of just how lonely and different from glory, from a former glory, a place can get to. Yes. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. The very last line. See, Adonai, my misery, how the enemy jeers. Yep. Here we go. Last week, Rabbi Molly got to change her batteries mid-moment, so it's only fair that this week I get to change my batteries. Apparently, yeah. There's only two in here. Yes, I think that it's one thing to have an enemy. It's another thing to have that enemy win. It's a whole different level to have that enemy gleeful, right? The glee of an enemy is that there's a different level of pain there that I agree. I think a lot of people have been experiencing this kind of like gleeful rejoicing in other people's pain and anguish that I find really amazing that it all exists in this text that is so long before this particular moment. Any last resonant moments? Okay. So it's interesting. I don't know whether these words have any comfort in them for you, these words that I read. On the one hand, I do appreciate Eicha as a way to provide words for the unspeakable. There is something really powerful and important about words that sound like the way that you're feeling. On the other hand, it's a little devastating to think about how much of this book of Lamentations feels resonant in our current world. Like, has nothing changed in 2,300 years? Come on. So in partial response, I want to offer two additional pieces of text. The first is a midrash, a story told in Avot de Rabbi Natan, a 9th century collection of commentaries and midrashim. This story takes place just before the destruction of Jerusalem and the Second Temple, and imagines a daring escape from the city and a conversation between one of the Jewish leaders of the time and the commander of the Roman army, Vespasian, which always sounds like pasta to me. When Vespasian came to destroy Jerusalem, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai sent for his students, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua, and said to them, "Let's get out of here. Make me a coffin, and I will sleep in it." So Rabbi Eliezer takes the coffin on one end, and Rabbi Yehoshua takes the coffin on the other end, and together they carry Yochanan ben Zakkai out of town in this coffin, and they get to the edges of the gates where they're not supposed to go, right? And the guard says, "Who goes there?" and Eliezer and Yehoshua say, we got to bury our dead, obviously, right? And so the guard says, all right, off you go. You're not supposed to keep a corpse inside the city walls overnight. So there's all sorts of like very legitimate reasons that they've got to get this coffin out of town quickly. So they take Yochanan ben Zakkai out of the city, and they take him straight to Vespasian, which I always have found a hilarious part of this story, because who escapes a city and goes straight to the person who can put you back in the city, kill you outright, whatever it is? And Yochanan ben Zakkai pops out of this coffin. Hello, future emperor of Rome. And Vespasian's very pleased to see him. So you are Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Ask for whatever you wish, and I will give it to you. He's very, very impressed with this rabbi. And Yochanan replies, I ask nothing from you except for Yavne, which is a place in the land that is outside of Jerusalem. It's north. I will go there and teach my students, and I will establish prayer, and I will do all of the commandments, the mitzvot, listed in the Torah. And Vespasian says, go. All that you wish to do, you may do. And Rabbi Yochanan says, do you want me to tell you one thing? Vespasian says, okay, sure. There's a little genie granting wishes going on here, I think a little bit on both sides. So Rabbi Yochanan says to Vespasian, take note, soon you will ascend to the kingship. You will be the emperor soon. And Vespasian says, how do you know? And Rabbi Yochanan says, we have a tradition that the holy temple cannot be taken by an ordinary person, but only by the next emperor, only by the next leader of a people. And not 3 days later, a letter came from Rome announcing that the Caesar had died and they were appointing him to ascend the kingship. He would, in fact, become the emperor. In response, they brought him a catapult and positioned it toward the walls of Jerusalem. Then they brought him cedar posts, put them in the catapult, and fired them against the wall until they made a breach. They brought him the head of a pig, put it in the catapult, flung it toward the sacrificial portions that were on the temple altar. So Rabbi Yochanan says, soon you will be emperor. Vespasian says, cool. Becomes the emperor, and the first thing he does is destroy Jerusalem. So there's a lot in this text, and some of it's you could go a lot of different directions, and someday we'll study it in more depth. It is striking that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai does not, with his one wish, say, save Jerusalem, right? Instead, we imagine him seeing the proverbial writing on the wall, right? Jerusalem will always be contested. Jerusalem will always be under siege. Someone else will always want this place. We will be fighting over and over and over again forever. And so he chooses what he sees as the future of Judaism over the future of a physical space. And he uses his proverbial one wish to get to a safe enough space to reinvent Judaism. And that is what happens in this place. In these two spaces, Yavne and Babylon, these two places that the Jews are exiled to after the destruction of their temples, Judaism becomes what we recognize as Judaism today. So Tisha B'Av comes every year because every year there is something to lament. There is new terror, there is new pain, sadness, and grief. And we do well to give ourselves the space to offer that lament every year. To, for lack of a better way of saying it, feel our feelings fully. And the destruction of the temples can also remind us that despite all of the destructions we commemorate on Tisha B'Av, we have over and over again transformed and grown and reinvented ourselves. And so the last text I share is less of a text and more of a theology, and I'll offer it in very brief. It's also a whole class worth of text. But Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Kabbalistic master, teaches that exile, galut, is the only way that we as a people, the Jewish people, could get to the four corners of the earth. And in getting to these four corners of the earth, we are in the right place, because the right place is every place, to pick up these pieces of brokenness that exist all over the world, these little pieces of God that have shattered all over the world. So in being spread out everywhere, we get to and are tasked with the opportunity to repair the world. And if we were all in Jerusalem, it would be much harder to reach those far-flung little corners of the earth that needs so much healing. And so on this Shabbat, may we be blessed with the time to lament and mourn, and the energy and courage to, as we are able, pick up the pieces and get to work. In a moment, we're going to continue with the words of Aleinu. I'm going to add something to our Aleinu tonight, if you'll permit me and forgive me in advance, without knowing what it is I'm going to ask you to do. We'll begin on page 283 at the top, as we always do. Always. And then I'm going to invite us to offer in English the words on the top of page 285. And then we'll continue and conclude in the middle of page 287. And we rise.
Sure. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula l'yotzer bereshit, shehu sam chelkenu li'ached et shemo, ve'gora aleinu l'hamlich malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 285.
Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad.
You may be seated.
Our thoughts turn now to loved ones that we've lost either in the recent past or at this time in years past. And on this Shabbat, we are in the Shloshim period, the 30-day period of mourning the loss of Alan Kendall, husband of Susan Kendall, Faye Stansel, aunt of Liz Cardy, Stuart Rosen, husband of Ruth Rosen, and Jack Bornstein, father of Denise Rubin and father-in-law of Craig Rubin. We also, on the Shabbat, observe the yartzites, which some of them we also observed last week, and some of them we will also observe next week, because we're just making sure all the names get covered. So on this Shabbat, we are observing the yahrzeits of Donald Arthur Friedman, Ernest Goldstein, Elise Patashnik, Marion Prazow, Stuart Dougeson, Rose Nemens, Morris Baskin, Meyer Roderick, Esther Sirkin Cohen, and Elaine Gelbert. We also remember Samuel Hager, Milton Hurst, Helen Rose Schuster, Ursula Becker, Elizabeth Ann Michaelman, Lucille Healy, Jack Brady, Ted Bookey, James Joseph Slayton, Reven Ben Yankel Bresker, Jerry Altschul, Harold H. Goodman, Shirley G. Schlanger, Leslie Brody, and Joan Morell Greenberg. If there are other names of loved ones you're remembering on the Shabbat, or if I mispronounce a name, please, if you're able, rise and share nice and loudly so we can hear the loved one you're remembering. You can all stand now. Let's do it. Thanks, Corin. If you're online, I hope you'll share in the chat. And if you're able, please rise. We'll join together. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. Yikadal v'yitkadash me rabba, be'alma divrach hiroteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon uv'yomachon, uv'chayet kol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'isman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba v'rach le'alam olamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrama v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha brichu, le'elam yinkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiram ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who provides comfort be a source of comfort to us all. We say it together, amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. Let's do our closing song. Should we do that?
There will be a time not before long that puppets join us on this bema, and just at some point during the service, the puppets will get a say in what happens. That's what we were just doing. We just don't have the puppets yet.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. All right. We are going to finish our service with Oseh Shalom, which is on the page you were just on, 294. It's on other pages as well. Which ones? I couldn't tell you. 62, maybe. Oseh Shalom, B'imramav. Oseh Shalom, B'imramav. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Hallelujah. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. I have Kiddush in there twice. We're just doing it once.
You don't want to do Kiddush twice? I don't understand. All right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. None of you follow me on Instagram, so you don't know that I made this, but I did.
Huzzah. It is beautiful. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
Shabbat Shalom.
B'te'avon. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
If you hate it, I didn't make it. It came from the store.